Hi, everyone. Welcome to the mentorship program from AI Community Africa, our monthly mentorship program. We are super excited to have you on board. My name is Stephen Oladele. I'm one of the volunteers of the AI Community Africa. Our cause at AI Community Africa is to provide high quality data and AI education and opportunities to underrepresented groups or pretty much interested individuals. Our goal is to make sure that we provide the platform for high quality education, as well as subsequently the opportunities that can help you leverage the education that you've gotten. In this month's episode, we're having a conversation with Joy. Joy is a data scientist, AI researcher, and petroleum engineer. Expertise is in ML, data, deep learning, and she's worked on various end-to-end machine learning projects, and it's pretty exciting. We're going to be having a pretty exciting conversation today with Joy. Joy actually currently is an AI engineer at Q Insight, and I think she would give a background from where she's coming from and then how she sort of got to where she is, so that it gives you a perspective on the type of questions to ask, the types of questions to ask, as well as what insights you want to get from her today. So Joy, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Thank you for the kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joy Ugoyah. I currently work as an AI engineer at Kinsight. There we build softwares for our clients. We help them create AI features for their already existing softwares or new softwares. So the journey has been exciting, actually. Stephen is someone that was part of that was there at the beginning of my journey. I'll say part of the journey for a very long time now. So how I started, I'm sure you were intrigued when you heard AI engineer and you heard petroleum engineer. So you're probably wondering, where is she coming from and how is she here? So I studied petroleum engineering in school. I went to University of Port Harcourt. So one thing with engineering is it exposes you to a lot of different things. So you may be studying one thing, or I would say the engineering at petroleum at University of Port Harcourt. The faculty was type of faculty where innovation was accepted, so different people were getting into different things. I found myself with a group of people that were interested in tech, and I said, oh, this is something I would want to explore. So I started learning Python. I started from Python. I didn't know what I was going to use it for. I just said, Python, why is a programming language named after a snake? Let me check that out. So that was in my 200 level, 300 level. Let me remember. I think that should be 2018. Yes. So I started learning Python. Of course, I was schooling at the time, so I didn't really have time to focus fully on it, but I kept doing it, and that's one thing that is very important in a person's tech journey. You have to keep going. That consistency, that you may not always be able to be very intense and very, very hyper focused with it, but you can, if you keep going, you're definitely going somewhere with it, right? So I just kept learning Python, and then one day my friend sent me the link to register for AI school. Then that's AI community. Then it was Harcourt School of AI. So she said they were organizing a training, and I've been talking about machine learning because I expressed my interest in data science. So I should just check it out. And I was like, okay, let me see this. And that was really how my journey into AI itself started. That was 2020. So we started out beginning of the year, and then COVID happened. And it was challenging, but I like the way AI school handled it. So COVID was something that no one had experienced before, and no one really knew how to react to it at the beginning. But then School of AI, AI community now, we took the whole learning online. So we started doing our sessions online because of the lockdown, and because of that, it looked like it was a bit more difficult. I know people had to drop off along the way and stuff like that, because of course people were not used to that before then, those kind of things. But we kept going, and by the end of 2020, I had built a solid foundation that would propel me to where I am today. So after that, I really enjoyed it. Actually, I saw one thing that struck me was how it could be useful in my field. I was still studying at the time, so I was getting into my final year, and I felt it would be useful to my field, which is petroleum engineering. I saw use cases, so I was really excited to apply to my final year project. So that was the beginning of me actually applying myself, like thinking outside the box, not just doing what I was taught, but now trying to create something of my own. And I did it. So I don't know if there's any petroleum engineer in the house. So I did a project using machine learning to predict a flow problem, scale precipitation, and that's, I think that got the admiration of my supervisor, who was the former VC, Professor Jinka, and then I got to publish about that. I had one publication before that about how AI could be applied to petroleum engineering in general, because that was 2020, and then 2021 I worked on the project itself, and then got to publish about that. After school, which was 2021, after I rounded up school, I found out that I was now more passionate about data science itself than I was about focusing on petroleum engineering, which is something that some people still look at and say, of course, Nigerians, most people, based on the information or knowledge they have, they feel like oil and gas, that's where all the money is. But I'm someone that is driven by passion and excitement, and that's what working on AI projects gives me. It gives me that ability to, or that chance to think outside the box, that chance to be creative with things, to just think about how things can go. Petroleum engineering is exciting too. No offense, petroleum engineering is very exciting too. But then it's a profession that has been there for years, so of course you know that some things are set in stone. But then with AI, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly improving on it. Like, you guys see how it's going now. Every day you're hearing something new. So that was what really drew me in. And then I was still one leg in petroleum engineering, one leg in data science. So I worked as a data scientist at a geotechnical firm. And that was also an exciting journey, because I got to work with someone that was a product manager at Twitter. And most of the things he introduced me to was how AI was done at a big firm like that. And that was, for me, that was a privilege, seeing at that early stage of my career how things could be done at those kind of organizations. And then from there, I've worked freelance. Now I'm currently working at Kinsight. I've worked on several freelance projects. That's just a brief background about me.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that comprehensive background, Joy. And I think it's interesting because Joy got to find out about one of Joy got to be matched with the Twitter product manager, actually through one of our mentorship programs, I think sometime in 2022. So it just goes to show, like, these programs are really valuable if you sort of take them seriously, and you have like a specific target and you really want to maximize all the benefits, really. So it's quite profound. So Joy, yeah, we really are quite on track, and thank you so much for sharing that insight. Over the next 15 minutes, we are going to be talking about we're going to be taking questions, talking about Joy's journey, and then in the next 20 or so minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be taking some internal questions that we've gotten, as well as some of you already pre-submitted questions. So we're going to be asking Joy those, and then later on we'll leave the floor open for any other questions. So thanks once again, Joy, for jumping in. And a few questions were pre-submitted here, and I thought it'd be interesting to sort of start off with what's your role right now with petroleum engineering? Do you think it's taking the back seat for what you want to do, or is it something that you still think would somewhere along the line intermingle with your career as an AI engineer?
Okay, so I think this is a very nice question. I'll try to answer it because I feel a lot of people will be able to relate to this. So I remember when I was trying to register for JAMB, and I told my mom I want to apply for petroleum engineering, and she said, I thought you wanted to be a doctor. And I said, no, why was you wanted to be a doctor? And she said, oh, I was so into biology and I used to explain a lot about how the body works. And I just thought that, well, that was just like something that I found interesting. But to me, I felt why I picked petroleum engineering was because I loved maths. I loved maths and I felt it to be easy, like engineering, mathematics. Which one will give me more money? And I was like, oh, oil and gas. Sounds interesting, right? So, but while in school, my department was that type of department where we would get mentorships from the industry, so people would come and talk to us about what's really going on out there and what to expect. So there was already talk about the energy transition and how oil and gas will not really be relevant in a few decades, and how it's getting harder to get jobs in that industry. And then they were also encouraging us to learn skills so that even if we come into the industry, we'll have something to offer. So I think that also propelled my mind in that direction of trying to learn something else. Now, the very first day I attended the class with AI community, I remember just like my mind going so exploding with ideas of how data science, how AI could be applied to petroleum engineering. Like when I heard about, oh, you could predict this type of thing and that type of thing, I was really like visualizing what could happen with petroleum engineering. So at that time, what I saw was I pictured myself being kind of like growing to that level. So my projection was that I would focus on that, applying AI to petroleum engineering till I get to that point where I'll be an expert in that particular. So like having a niche for myself as a petroleum engineer who can build AI solutions that solve petroleum engineering problems. So if anyone knows me from LinkedIn here, if you've looked at my LinkedIn profile, you probably see expertise in energy industry, AI solutions, something like that. And the funny thing is, I looked at it this week, very recently, and I asked myself, should this still be there or should I remove it? So the truth is, the thing with AI is that it's a versatile, very, very versatile field, which is one reason I like it. It's very versatile. Of recent, I've seen myself building things that are way outside petroleum engineering. Is petroleum engineering still, it's a knowledge I have in my head, yes, and whenever there's a need for it, I would always use that knowledge to build something. But currently, I'm not so, I'll say I'm not channeling all my effort to that. I'm now at this point, which I feel is the point I should be now. I'm at this point where I want to see everything that can be done with AI. So like, even things outside the energy industry, I feel that knowledge of having an idea of how it can be applied to, let's say, marketing, how it can be applied to supply chain prediction and just different things, computer vision that is completely outside anything related to predicting petroleum engineering or audio, things that just, I want that kind of rounded view of things rather than just like trying to put myself in that box of the energy industry. So that's where I am now. Of course, if anything related to the energy industry comes up, I'm still very much willing to pick it.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Joy. And I think, transitioning into a new field, requires a lot of work, a lot of skills, and,
Sure.
a lot of ideas as well, a lot of strategies as well. And I'm curious, right? You mentioned the AI community. We had this program, Practical ML course. I think it's about 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
We run that program, and it's quite interesting because I just wanted to know, even beyond that program, we kept seeing you build upon your skills. Like, you kept really building your skills, even though that was only a fundamental, foundational program that was that was supposed to help you get to the to the pathway. But we kept seeing you build your skills, learn more, take more, use more resources to push yourself. And I'm just curious, what were the specific resources or strategies you found helpful after the bootcamp you went through in AI Community Africa? What were those resources you found helpful in propelling your career going forward?
Okay. So after AI community, I realized along the line that the foundation I got from there was very solid, which is one thing I would encourage everyone here. Make sure you get a solid foundation. Once you get a solid foundation, I think where anywhere else you're going, it would be easier. So after that, I think one thing that made me really develop myself more immediately after that was the fact that I had to work on that my final year project, which means I had to like do my own research myself, like look into what I was trying to do. And at that point, I was mostly focused on so I read documentations. I actually like go through documentations a lot, and then I watch YouTube videos a lot. So that was what I used at that period, documentations, YouTube videos. But then afterwards, I wanted to go deeper into deep learning, right? So that was the course I took was Andrew Ng's course on Coursera, deep learning. I've taken several courses. I've taken courses from Hugging Face about their ecosystem and building models there. Mostly, while I'm working, if I see something that I need to learn more about, or if I want to be able to do something, if I see that, okay, this is something I want to be able to do, let me see, in the next 1 or 2 months, I take a course on it. I use Coursera, I've used IBM, I've used Hugging Face, their platform. What I noticed that some of these tools we use, right, they have their own tutorials, and I find those ones more useful than just watching random YouTube videos. Random YouTube videos are great to give you an overview, but then if you want something that really zeroes in on what you're trying to do at that moment, most times whatever tool you're trying to use, just like search, you'll see that they have their own tutorial, both like written materials and videos, and those are the things I use a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's really fundamental. And one thing we've sort of noticed at AI Community Africa, of course, we're a non-profit, so I'm liberty to say this is that, projects really matter. Being able to work on projects, is one of the ways that solidifies. We can remember back in 2021 when we had a whole end-to-end project. We worked with an actual farmer in one of the farms in South, and we're able to sort of go from understanding the use case to actually deploying the solution. And I bet you some of the members that underwent that particular project, most of them there's one of them in the UK right now actually building a RAG solution for his university, and then there are 2 other people scattered somewhere already working on AI projects. So it just goes to show that you should, even as Joy mentioned, working on projects is really, really important. Even as much as you're starting to learn the basics and foundations, project learning, being able to handle a project where you push yourself, you learn new technology in the way is really crucial. And, if I think those guys will come in later on, Brain and the other guys will come in later on for the other mentorship program to help you understand how you can think about project-based learning. But thank you so much, Joy, for sharing that. And then the next question from our pipeline is, this person says, changing career paths is really easy. Can you discuss some of the challenges you faced during your transition, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
One major problem I've encountered is so you're trying to apply for some jobs, and then like a requirement there, maybe you have to have studied computer science or statistics or data science. And I studied petroleum engineering. So how do I convince these people that I'm good enough, even though I didn't study computer science? So that was one major problem I faced. And so towards that, what I'm trying to do to resolve that now, to at least open up myself to more opportunities, is trying to get a master's in computer science. So that's one thing I'm working towards. So I feel, yes, a lot of times, so we know in the tech world, some people have this idea that certificates matter. A lot of people say certificates don't matter. Like, you just need to be able to show people that you can do this. But sometimes when there's like a pool of candidates, right, they have to use those things to narrow down before they see what people can do. So yeah, you may find yourself with such challenges, but then it hasn't limited me. And the reason it hasn't limited me is because I do things and I put it out. Most times, even if I get to those scenarios where there's a pool of candidates and that narrows it down, there are also opportunities that open up for me just because they see that I can do things. And then I've also seen myself needing to work with people like recruit people to get things done. And that's when I realized that realistically, I don't even look out for the certificates. Like most people put more weight on, what have you done? Let me see what you've done, right? So, but of course, the credentials answering. Someone told me recently, if you do a PhD, if there are two candidates for something, the person that is answering Doctor this may most likely get it. So, I think that's one major challenge I've faced.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, like you mentioned, most people like focus on the certificate angle. And I can remember some of these stories, and I'll probably share personal anecdotes later on. But some of the things that most people will tell you with the courses is that, it's better you define the type of project you want to work on, and then start figuring out the courses that really help you solve those relevant skills to solve that particular problem, rather than taking courses randomly. And these are some of the feedback we are taking into note and using it to design like the learning programs we are working on going forward. And Sam might probably talk about those learning programs later on. But yeah, thanks, Joy, for sharing that. And looking back at your journey, what would you say were the pivotal milestones in your transition that significantly impacted your new career path? I know one, you mentioned your project being one, the support from your supervisor, but were there other milestones that you sort of hit that just made you realize that, yeah, this is the career path for me, given the vastness, but also, just gave you that reinforcement to keep going regardless of that transition?
Well, I think these ones are the major milestones.
Right.
I think other than this, I would say it's just the emotion, the passion, right? So that's
Right.
what keeps me going. So, so I think interacting with people is very important, because one thing that also like kept propelling me in this direction is like my interaction with people. So when I talk to people doing this petroleum engineering, when I talk to people doing I try to like understand what their daily lives are like. So like, what do you do at work, what's your life after work? It's normal conversations, not like I'm interviewing those people. But then hearing how their lifestyle is being influenced by their profession, it kind of helped me decide, okay, this is the type of life I want. So that I think it's not a milestone, but it's something that helped me decide the direction.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. And the other question we have here is, has your background in petroleum engineering influenced your approach to data science and AI? Are there maybe skills or perspectives from petroleum engineering that you find valuable in your current role?
Very much actually. There is one thing I noticed, right, with people so I observe people a lot. I pay attention to people and things they do. And one thing I've observed is this: people that have a background in practical, or they call them professional courses, right? Things like engineering, or maybe you come from a medical field or something. They always, and then going to computer science or data science in this case, we're always going with this application perspective, which is like, how do I use this to achieve this? How do I use this to solve this problem? Now, as opposed to someone coming from a computer science background who has learned the whole thing as theory and just feels like, okay, I have this knowledge, what next? So I see that people that have a practical background, which is in my case, which is what happened. So I think I've mentioned it earlier. I said the moment I heard about AI, the first thing crossing my mind was all the things I could use it for. So I'm not just hearing like you defining data science and telling me what it could be used for as theory, like, oh, this is definition of data science, let me cram it. No, it was more like, if this thing can do this, then I can use it for this. So it gave me that like application, how to apply it mindset. I think that's one way it has influenced it. So some people may be scared that probably it may narrow my thinking, like maybe I will be thinking of petroleum engineering. I don't think it has done that. If anything, I think it has given me more open perspective on things, because I have come from this. I know I've gone to this other field and seen what's possible, and that's why I can also like look at things outside petroleum engineering, because now I just see things as, when there's a problem, it needs to be solved, and not like theory, like what is this thing, what is it defined as, but more like what can it be used for. I think that's why it has influenced me.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think there's a really nice follow-up question that was pre-submitted again by an audience. Is you mentioned something about some of your struggles a bit, but this person would like to know the struggles you faced, while you were trying to get your first role without a computer science background. I think you mentioned something about without a degree. Were there other things that sort of limited you in some sense as well from getting your first role, or maybe getting your first gig, or getting your first job, beyond like your degree?
Yeah, so getting your first job is always difficult. Getting my own first role was difficult. So the thing is, at that beginning, when you learn something like this, you may think that maybe looking around you, looking at the testimonies, the testimonies tend to like be louder than the failures from people. So maybe you've
Right.
seen online some superstars, and you're like, once I just finish this story, and once I just complete this course and get my certificate, I'll do all these things this person did, but you don't know like what was behind that. So initially, of course, I went to like most people do with that like pumped up, like, yes, let me just submit my application to all my dream jobs and then get the acceptances rolling. But then it didn't work that way. So that was kind of like a reality check, like, okay. And I think it was humbling, because I had this background in education that kind of gave me confidence. Like, I know when you're coming from, you've never really failed at anything before, so it's like anything I do, one shot and it's in. But then that was not the case with the job. So the first month of like sending a lot, and then we regret to inform you all over my emails. So yes, it was challenging. I won't say I knew the exact thing that made them, because of course we regret to inform you never comes with a reason, right? It's just a generic message. So I won't say I really knew the reason, although I would encourage people to maybe reach out to hiring managers if they can, to find out the reason when they start applying, which is something I learned later on. When you start applying and then you're getting rejections, you can just respond. If it's an email, you can respond to say, oh, you'd like to know why, so you know how to improve on yourself. So yes, that first chance was difficult. I think my advice to people would be, if you're randomly applying in a pool of candidates, like all these online links you get to apply, and it's not working, sometimes one-on-ones might be what will get you into the door at the beginning. And the reason is this: when you're applying without experience, a lot of times most people want someone that can come in and get things done for them immediately, and that's a beginner's CV doesn't normally look that way, right? You may have done some projects, but they may be not very like high level projects. They may be like simpler things that don't really translate to what they do at the company. So I think having one-on-ones with people, networking, just talking to people as opposed to just dropping your certificate in a pool of candidates was what helped me. So having one-on-ones made people to actually get a sense of who I was and my approach to problems, and then give them that confidence that even if I may not know it all, I seem like the type of person that would make sure I solve that problem. So yes, I think that was the challenge I faced, and that was what helped me. That was my own strategy.
Yes, absolutely. And we've heard from members that the cold strategy helps. Like Joy said, being able to put yourself out there is crucial. That could be like through either blog posts. So essentially, you work on the project, and one of the things we encourage people to do, our members to do when we were running the practical ML course in 2020, was to actually write blog posts, help put their project and then put their thoughts and ideas out there. We found that that's a really good strategy, that you work on a project and you're able to somehow summarize that project in the blog post and then put the link to like the GitHub. Somehow, you're able to reach out to someone, maybe via LinkedIn, maybe there's a dream company you want to work for, and then you can somehow connect with like the director of data science or the director of AI there. You can easily reference your blog post and say, hey, I really like working for this company. Here's why I think I'm going to be valuable. Here's what I've done before. Here's a portfolio. Here's a blog post on a project I worked on, all completely on my own. These are sort of strategies we found that members have used to getting their first role. So over time, we're going to be hosting sessions that can really help put these things into perspective. And if you really need, like, if you want very specific sessions on any session you want to be mentored on, please drop them in the chat. We're happy to find the right people and provide the right support for you.
Sorry, let me add to what you just said now. So yes, what you said is completely true. And I think one thing is that people need to put these things out regularly. So like the blog posts, maybe videos of you showing what you did, or talking about things you can do, and links to your code, screenshots showing yourself working. Like, you'd be surprised who is watching. Sometimes you may reach out to people and they don't really respond to you, but then you've gotten their attention, and then if you keep putting things out there, they may actually take an interest in you. So, like, apart from posting just one, posting consistently too.
Yes, absolutely, as well. And the other question from the same individual says, I find learning ML with online courses difficult. What advice would you give to me, or should I rather wait till I go for my master's in applied data science?
This is something a lot of people face. So I realized that everyone is different, right? Some people struggle with ADHD, which is like difficulty focusing on things, and an online course is something that takes a lot of both self-discipline and the actual biological ability to focus. So I would say for someone struggling with taking online courses, it may not be the ideal way of learning for you. Maybe based on your biological makeup, maybe based on the level of discipline you have as a person. So I would say, first of all, try like marking maybe 1 or 2 hours of your day. Start small. So try marking 1 hour of your day and saying, this within this 1 hour, my phone, I'll put it on silent or work mode. I'll put it like no distractions, and then I'll try to focus on this course, and then maybe grow from there. Because sometimes you may want to like go all in and binge, and then because it's not something you're used to, you find it difficult to like keep going. So if you try this strategy of starting small, 1 hour every day, and then when you build the habit, maybe over a month, now increasing your time, and it doesn't work for you, then I would say I won't advise you to wait till you go for your master's program before learning. And the reason is this: I've seen people that went for master's programs. Most of these master's programs in data science, or they just rush you through the whole thing, which is how a tertiary institution works, right? Tertiary institution is not like primary or secondary school where they hold your hand and guide you and make sure you understand. Tertiary institutions, they just rush you through the whole thing. So if you don't already have some background knowledge, and you are not someone that is so very fast at learning, you may find yourself falling back, and then you're looking for someone to do your assignments. You're feeling like this thing is not just for me, let me just pass anyhow, which is not what you want. You want to be able to really understand it. So especially if you don't know Python yet, at least if that's the only thing you do before your master's, try and just learn Python. Now, the second strategy I wanted to give you to learning is this: find a physical venue to learn. So there are online courses, but you can also learn physically. You can look for courses in your city, right? You can look for courses in your city. Find a physical venue, go there and learn. That is easier because you're with people there, and it's easier to like stay focused on when you're interacting with people than when you're just by yourself with your laptop screen. So try to find somewhere physical to learn. If you can't find that place to learn, then you can try to find someone like you that is also trying to learn maybe the same course, maybe something else, but then this is like your partner, your reading partner in quotes. So like you guys, it's like having someone there with you, so you know that you're working on this activity, and it's not just you and your own focus and discipline struggling. So that's my advice. If it's only Python you can learn before you go for that master's, make sure you learn Python, at least in the very least learn that, so that when you go there, everything is not looking very strange to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Joy, for sharing that once again. And I think this is the right time to leave the floor open for questions from the audience. So if you have any question at all, please use the raise your hand button, I think. the raise hand option, Control Alt H, and we'll be happy to bring you on board. So we have our first question from Chimezi FOB.
Okay, hello. Yeah, actually, my question is there any difference between an AI engineer and a machine learning engineer?
All right, so that's actually a very interesting question. The thing with this ecosystem, a lot of words get mixed up, and the reason is because the field is new. So you hear data science, you hear data analysis, you hear machine learning, you hear AI. So there is a difference. There's a difference. A machine learning engineer specifically works with machine learning softwares, the software aspect. An AI engineer will find themselves going beyond the software most of the time, because AI is not just ChatGPT, right? AI involves, of course, we know the whole science fiction, but sometimes you may find yourself having to maybe work with a camera that is enhanced with AI capabilities. So an AI engineer will often find themselves working with hardware as well as software. Now, that being said, that's theoretically. In practice, most of the time, the title you take, the job title you take, depends on the organization you work with. So you may go to one organization and that's the name they give you, but then you find yourself working. You may call you an AI engineer, and you find yourself working with just softwares. They may call you a data scientist, and then you find yourself doing the data science part of things, deploying the models to cloud, like a machine learning engineer and stuff like that. So that's it's different, but then again, it's subjective, and it's subject to the environment you find yourself.
Right. Thank you for your question. We have another question from Henry Totor.
Okay. Good evening, Joy. Good evening, Stephen. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to say I've been honestly very inspired. Honestly, going to your LinkedIn, I'm actually very inspired. As for my question, regarding your first role when you broke out into the field of data science, were you necessarily trying to find a niche do you feel like, okay, the projects you had done were somewhat related to that when you got that role?
Okay, Harry, thank you for the kind compliments, first of all. Yes, your question. So yes, I had projects mainly focused on the energy industry, and part of the energy industry is geology and understanding the subsurface, which is what was also happening at my first role. So I think that kind of maybe drew the organization to me as well. So if they saw me as someone that at least had, because things like geology is all these should I say fields, you need to have at least some domain knowledge for you to understand what is going on. So yes, I think the fact I had projects related to that, the fact I studied petroleum engineering, was one of the reasons I got the job. But at the same time, I don't think you should let that restrict you when you apply to jobs. So of course, everyone would prefer someone that has worked on something similar to work on it, to solve a problem they want, right? But sometimes there may not be anyone, you may be the closest to what they want. Sometimes they may actually take interest in something you did that was not related to the field but brings an interesting perspective, right? So let's say you've worked on, so let me get an insight into the type of person you are. What do you do currently? What background are you coming from? So I can give you an example of how it will work.
I'm actually currently studying electrical engineering, and I also know Prof.
Okay, so let's say as an electrical engineer, right, you work with electrical systems. Basically, you deal with electrical hardware, so wires and circuits. You understand how they work, and we are applying to maybe a company that has to do with computer vision, right? So technically, they're building computer vision softwares. You may not have anything. Let me say they are using the computer vision for improving marketing at the supermarket. This is just an example. They are using it to improve marketing at the supermarket. So they want to be able to observe their buyers, maybe know what promos to place at what angles based on maybe the aisle. That's when someone walks from this aisle, they normally love to purchase things at this particular eye. So let's put, for example, the advert for a refrigerator close to where ice creams and chocolates are sold, just an example. Now they need, for them to be able to do this, they need to at least be able to survey the environment. They want to have cameras that have that computer vision capability. Now you may not have something related to like marketing, which is probably what the job description, the advert would show, but the fact that you have something related to understanding wires, like understanding how circuits work, may make them get interested in you. Now this is just an example, but most of the time you never know how people's minds work, and you never know the complete detail about what they need. So I feel you should still apply to projects outside what you have experience with. Of course, building experience in the particular sector you want is always a good is your best bet, because of course it will look like you already know things about that, but then that shouldn't limit you also. So that's my take on it. If you want to work as, let me say, you want to work with insurance, you can work on projects related to insurance, but that doesn't mean if another project in a different field comes and you like that job, and you like that, you can apply to it, because you never know what they will see in you.
Okay, thank you. It helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for asking the question and answering it, Joy. Okay, Chimezie, okay, please go on. If anybody else has any question, please, you can also drop them in the chat. If you can't, like, raise your hands, so we'd be happy to take them. Chimezie, please go on.
For someone to learn data science, does it have a climax knowledge, like what you should know very well before you can call yourself a data scientist? Because what I actually know is that you must learn Python, Matplotlib, Pandas, and machine learning.
So I think I understand where you're coming from. So most times when you're getting introduced to data science, you hear them talk about how a data scientist should be able to handle data analysis with tools like Python, Pandas, and the rest, Matplotlib. They should be able to build machine learning models, work with libraries like scikit-learn, TensorFlow, work on deep learning, and then they should also be able to work with databases. They should be able to work with SQL and even NoSQL databases. The thing is, there are things, at least you should have an idea of most of these things before you be able to call yourself a beginner data scientist, right? Or before you be able to call yourself a data scientist. But then your level also determines what is expected of you. So if, for instance, you're a beginner, no one would be expecting you to be an expert in all these things at once, or even knowing every single technology. It's when maybe you're calling yourself an expert data scientist, so like you've gone beyond intermediate, everyone will now expect you to know how to work with databases, at the same time know how to build deep learning models, still know how to work with data analysis tools like Power BI, Tableau, Excel, and even go. So people may even demand more from you, like working with cloud technologies and the rest. So I would say for you to be able to call yourself data scientist as a beginner, this is my personal opinion, everyone's opinion may be different, but what I've seen at least is that you should be able to work with Python, you should be able to write code in Python, you should be able to work with Python libraries for data analysis like Pandas, Matplotlib, NumPy. You should be able to work with machine learning libraries like scikit-learn, TensorFlow. You may not know TensorFlow and PyTorch at the same time. You may know that TensorFlow or PyTorch, but at least knowing that, being introduced to that. If you have some understanding of SQL, that's great. So I think if you have this in your toolbox, these skills in your toolbox, then you are a beginner data scientist and you've basically started your journey. Of course, Excel, because sometimes you like get stuff you have in Excel, you may need to collect your data in Excel, so Excel too is important. So that's for beginner level, and then as you advance to intermediate, you can now get all these other things I mentioned. So sometimes I feel people overwhelm themselves with they need to learn all these things before they can apply to a job. So don't let these things overwhelm you and restrict you. So if learn these basics that I've told you, try to use these basics you've learned to work on things, to work on projects. While you're working on projects, you find yourself learning more things because of maybe you find out that I want to do this particular thing in my project. And then by the time you work on 2 or 3 projects, you found that you've expanded your capability. And then there's a point you get to realize that I don't even have to know. So far, you've developed that ability to, you understand the core concept, you've developed the ability to learn. You must not know every single. So there are different, for example, now cloud technologies, there's GCP, there's Azure, there's AWS, there are others that are not so mainstream, right? If you say I must learn every single one of them before I call myself a data scientist, you're restricting yourself. So a lot of times you must not learn these things ahead. You can know what they're capable of. If you hear of a new tool, you can just go watch a video or talk to your friend about it. Oh, what can this tool do? And when it's time for you to learn it, you can now, like in the moment on the job, learn that particular skill. As far as you already know how to do the data science, and you already know the fundamentals, while working you can pick up those things. Sometimes you may learn a particular software, you go to another job, you find out that they are using a different software that still does the same thing you were doing with another software, but that's what they use at that organization. Now you won't say because of I've not used it before, I can't use it here, right? All you need to do is pick it up, ask someone to show you, watch a video, ask ChatGPT to explain how it works to you, and then you get started. So it's more of the ability to learn rather than telling yourself you want to learn everything from the beginning.
Okay,
Right.
I've gotten your explanations. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right. Thanks again, Joy, for sharing that. And if you're part of the AI Community Africa, which I probably think you should be, you must have seen that we have programs that we also try to hold. For example, we recently closed out the Data Camp program, which had over 1,500 applications, and the programs team that is sifting through. So some of these philosophies that we've learned over the years, working with members who are extremely successful today. These are members who are working with AWS, like I said, people building systems in their schools, as well as some things that we've learned ourselves. We are trying to apply them to the way we design the learning program. So one thing we should let you know, of course, I would let you know, is to keep an eye out for some of the things that we share in AI Community Africa. Yes, we don't do the training ourselves, but we try to partner with organizations and individuals that can provide a high quality education to you. And that's why we brought about the Data Camp Scholarship. So if you're part of that, that's really good. I think the applications are closed now, but there's probably going to be a new cohort pretty soon. And then we are coming up with other initiatives and programs that help you center your learning around project-based learning, so that you don't feel incompetent trying to learn a lot of things, right? We're trying to apply all the principles we've gotten to design these programs to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself with learning too much. You learn a little, you apply it to a project, and then based on that project, you're continuing to learn. That's the principle we're trying to bring into play. That's why we talk about education and opportunities. The education is one thing, but the opportunity to apply what you've learned is also another thing. That's pretty much our cause at AI Community Africa. And speaking of that, we try to partner with interesting individuals like Joy. Please reach out if you're interested in working with Joy, getting started in data analytics and stuff. Otherwise, we also have our programs in AI Community Africa you can engage in. We have the Fun Friday. We're also bringing in new programs. We have Data Camp, like I said. We also bringing in new programs to help you to upskill. If you have any thoughts at all, if there's anything you want to say about the mentorship program, maybe how to build your CV, how to actually work on a project, or how to get started, some of these things, please leave them in the chat box, and then you can drop your thoughts on the types of the topics you'd want to see for the next few months. It's a monthly session. It's not like it's every week. So yeah, Henry, let's take 2 more questions. Henry, and then maybe any other person before we shut out.
Yeah. So my question is with respect to our projects. I wanted to know, because I've seen different things. Different people have, because I follow different data science YouTubers, and they give different advice. But with respect to projects, because it's nice to work on projects, obviously, in for example, if you have a preferred niche that you want to go into, and it's nice to work on projects like that. But if that's not the case, right? Like, I'm just asking, if you don't necessarily have like a preferred niche, but you want to break into the field, because you're more open to different, just different opportunities that are available, right? Then if that's the case, like, what project would you say one should work on? Should one just work on, projects, maybe passion projects?
Yeah.
All right. So I think Harry's problem is how to identify the right projects to work on and know that they are worth it. So I would say when you learn one thing, you can just go on YouTube and search projects related to these things. There are people that share different types of projects you can work on related to a particular tool or something, and then you can pick something that interests you from there. You can also go by what people around you talk about. So let's say LLM is the new buzz now. You learned something related to LLMs. Try and build a project related. Maybe build like a mini chatbot and like make a video working with it, or maybe share a link that people can use to access it, and then that's something worth it. So either something people are currently interested in, a lot of people are currently interested in, or something related to particular skill you learned at that moment.
I think we're going to be doing a bit more of an emphasis on projects as well. The next mentorship program could be all about how you select the right project and stuff like that. I think so that, so Kachi asks, how do I improve myself in data science? I think that every other thing was a background story. He has the same background as you do, Joy. But generally, how does he improve himself? How does he get better at both fields and make a difference?
All right, so Kachi, starting out tends to be difficult, especially maybe in our environment, but it's sometimes it gets easy for some people. I think what I would say is so build your skill. That's very obvious. If you're not very maybe you're not very great at the machine learning yet, try to like work more, take more courses and stuff like that. But if you've done those types of things and you feel at least the level you are at, you should be able to get beginner level gigs, then, and they are not coming to you. I think one thing I've realized is that most times people feel like the opportunity should come to them. Best they can do is apply to like links, like job ads, right? But then try to talk to people. Like it sounds like you have a picture of where you want to be already. So try to talk to people that can help you get there. If, for instance, you can identify, you said petroleum engineering, ML, you can apply to Cypher Crescent. They work with a lot of petroleum engineers that have or ML engineers that have petroleum engineering background. Cypher Crescent is in Port Harcourt and Lagos, and look for like similar organizations like that and talk directly to people. Even if they don't put out a job ad, like talk to them, show them what you've done. At least you should have, if this is where you want to go, you should have one project you've worked on related to it. Or if you haven't yet, maybe take your time now and work on something related to it and then talk to these people. So one thing I found out in my own journey was that it may not be very easy to try to get opportunities. Like at some point I was applying to petroleum engineering roles and applying to data science roles. Now that may not be very easy because there's something about focus. Focus gets you further than when you spread out your effort. When you spread out your effort, you may be moving gradually in the direction you want, but when you really zero in on something, you tend to get propelled in that direction. So you may also want to try focusing on either one of them. So maybe focusing on either petroleum engineering or data science. So that's my advice for you, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much, Joy. So Henry, unfortunately, we can't take any more questions. We're 5 minutes over time. We want to respect people's time. So if you have any other thoughts, you can just drop your question on the AI Community Africa Slack. Joy would definitely be happy to get to them and give you perhaps a more comprehensive answer. Again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Joy, for sharing your insights. It's deeply valuable to us. We are so proud of the fact that you started your journey at AI Community Africa over 4 years ago. I think about 4 years ago now, and you're doing really, really interesting and insightful things. So thank you for sharing your time. We don't take it for granted. and thank you for sharing your knowledge. And we don't take that for granted as well.
All right, thank you, Stephen. It was a pleasure. I always like to give back to people around me because I feel where I am today is a result of the people that were around me.
So thank you so much, everyone. And we'll also keep you in the loop for next month's session, which we feel like now it's going to be around how to choose the right projects to work on in AI. So we're pretty much looking forward to that. And we'll see you next time. Till then, take care and good luck. Bye.